Hey there everybody, it's Russ, and today we are going to talk bike tools, and specifically next level bike tools. And by that I mean tools to consider after you've got the basics covered. So you've got a good bike stand, you've got a good set of hex wrenches, a pump, tools to remove your cassette. What are the next tools that you might not consider but are actually pretty useful? I've got some tools laid out here on the table, so let's get into it. So the first tool is a tool that I kind of delayed purchasing for a while because I didn't know how useful it would be. But after I bought it, it's become extremely useful, and I think I'm going to take it with us when we travel this winter. And that tool is the derailleur hanger alignment tool. There are different brands. You can spend as little as $30 all the way up to $200. I bought this one. This is by Spirit. And it seemed like the most well-built and affordable derailleur hanger alignment tool for the money. I forget what I spent exactly. It's somewhere between $30 to $40, so less expensive than the Park tool, definitely less expensive than the Abbey Toolworks, but not the cheapest tool out there on the market. And here it is. There is one more piece. There is this removable feeler. This is a piece that you would use to check the distance from the rim. So I'm not going to do a full-on tutorial on how to use a derailleur hanger alignment tool. Park Tools has a really excellent one, but I will tell you a couple instances where having this tool was super handy. We get sent bikes here to review on the channel, and I have to build up each one, get them running so I can test them, then box them up and send them back. There have been a couple times this year where the bike was brand new, but because of how it was handled during shipping, the shifting was off and you could visibly see that the derailleur hanger was bent. This tool made it really easy to correct those problems without having to wait for extra derailleur hanger to be sent to the channel. Another instance where this came in super handy was when I was doing regular bike maintenance. There were a couple bikes, my mountain bike in particular, where I was chasing perfect shifting around. I couldn't get it just right. I took the rear derailleur off and put this thing on, and the derailleur was actually bent. You couldn't tell just by looking at it. That is the beauty of this tool, is that it projects the error. So a little tiny millimeter error here gets magnified, and after a couple minutes of tweaking it, I got perfect shifting. If you have a bike that's giving you shifting problems and you've done all the proper steps in terms of cable tensioning, then derailleur hanger alignment might be the problem. And it might also be the case that you can't tell just by looking at it with your naked eye, and you do need a tool like this to kind of project and magnify the issue. This tool specifically, the Spirit, works very similar to the Park. I don't know if it's as precise or less precise. I do know that it's worked pretty well for me to straighten out whatever derailleur hanger problems I've had. So if you don't have one already, a derailleur hanger alignment tool should be on your list. Yes, it does look a little bit intimidating because you are bending metal that could possibly break. But if you take your time, watch some great tutorials, then trust me, this will be a tool that you'll wonder how you have lived without. Another tool that I reach for pretty often is actually some kind of small pick like this. This is extremely useful for many purposes. You can use the straight jabby pointy end to clear out gunked up sealant in your valve cores. You can also use it to puncture tubeless tape. The hook end is great for removing seals or for guiding pesky cables through your frame or down through your shifter. Also a great tool for picking out the cable ends of a brake cable or a shifter cable. Another way I've used this a ton recently is picking off chain wax from freshly waxed chains. In particular, the quick link. Wax tends to build up there, preventing a good closure. This lets you really go in there and scrape it out. It's also great for cleaning out the pulleys on your bike. Seriously, an infinite number of uses for a little pick like this. Speaking of wax chains, this next tool, it's pretty funny. It's this like 3-armed Masterlink plier. I don't know why, but whenever I see this, it reminds me of that character from Mortal Kombat, the thing with the 6 arms. Anyways, this works very similar to your typical Masterlink plier. Some of these are only designed to open up the master links by squeezing together. This one has 2 sets of pinchers. You can use these ones to squeeze the links together and open up the chain, or you can use these two to unsqueeze and tighten the chain. I know what you're thinking, Russ, why don't you just pedal really hard and snap the chain into place? I have found that although that works most of the time, there are some instances where a dedicated tool is better. Maybe I couldn't get enough force with the bike on the stand, or it's just really stubborn because it's wax and there's wax residue in the nooks and crannies. Using a tool like this guarantees that you have the chain absolutely closed and ready to ride. I know I thought it was excessive at first, but since I've been using it, it's been perfect. The next tool that you might not consider is a really good wrench. And by a really good wrench, I mean something better than just a spanner wrench. In particular, if you're gonna buy one, you should totally check out these Knipex. Daniel from Tumbleweed turned me on to these wrenches initially, but they're just friggin' awesome. The first reason these are awesome is when you squeeze down and lock onto a bolt, the jaws lock on perfectly parallel. So what that means is that as you turn the bolt, you're not going to be accidentally rounding it off because the jaws are going to be perfectly parallel onto the faces of the bolt. Another nice thing is you can see it'll open up a little bit as you let loose. This allows you to kind of quasi ratchet around a bolt. Clamp down, turn, release, reposition, clamp down, turn, release, reposition. As opposed to a crescent wrench where, you know, you get a good fit and then you do a turn and maybe you have to reposition, so you kind of have to loosen it and then stick it back in there, retighten it. All these little changes allow for the potential of rounding off the bolt head. Another cool thing is because of the nature of this, it almost acts like a quasi vice grip. You can shut the jaws really small and really clamp down onto things. They do make a version of this with serrated jaws. I find that the flat profile is a little bit more useful for me. If you did actually want to use this as a stronger vice grip, then check out the one with the serrated jaws. It's probably the most baller wrench out there. Not cheap, but an absolute joy every time I've had to use it. Link in the description below. Another really simple tool that I've grown to appreciate are these flush cutters, flush mount cutters. Anyways, they're meant for cutting zip ties, and it cuts them perfectly flush so there are no jaggies to accidentally stab you or cut you when you're handling the bike. More and more bikes these days, like it or not, use zip ties to some extent to hold down cabling. This makes a really precise cut. So if you have a length of cabling going down your down tube, you don't have these sharp, jagged things that are going to scratch up your leg. You can go the cheap route and get some nail clippers. Those totally work. These ones in particular are the ZP5s by Park Tool. I guess zip tie plier 5 maybe. Another place where this would come in handy is if you're zip tying a walled basket to your rack. Again, you get a perfectly clean cut so you don't have jagged edges that could cut your bag or things that you're carrying. If you're putting your sleeping pad there or something, you don't have to worry about the jaggies from the zip tie. Simple and brings me joy every time I use it. The last next level tool I'm going to talk about is, of course, the torque wrench. They come in so many styles, from these split beam styles by Park, as well as this really cool T-ratchet style where you can adjust the torque value, to more traditional micrometer styles like this one from Topeak. Torque wrench, extremely useful to have around, especially when you're first starting to work out on bikes. It gives you a good reference point so you know right from the beginning if you're tightening too hard or not enough. Torque wrenches definitely come in a wide range of prices as well as working torque ranges. Probably the most common torque ranges that you'll be working with are going to be somewhere between 4 to 6. In which case, a tool like this is the Park ATD 1.2, will cover almost all your bases. This one works like a click style torque wrench where once you hit that desired torque value, it clicks and it won't spin any further. And you can adjust this by hand just by turning the silver knob from 4, 4, 5, 5, 5, 5, and 6. Another nice touch is that in the handle itself, it carries some of the most used bits that I use. I think a 345 and a T25. If you are interested in torque wrenches, I'm doing a big kind of comparison between a lot of different styles and a couple different brands. Everything from on-the-trail torque wrenches to stuff for home use. So if you're interested in that video, be sure to subscribe. Curious to hear what you guys think about my selection for next level bike tools to have in your shop. Do you guys have these? Do you think they're absolutely useless? Let me know in the comments below. If you want to buy any of these tools, affiliate links are in the description. Yes, they completely help the channel. Another way you can help the channel out and also get access to lots of discounts is by joining us on Patreon. You get access to lots of cool perks and monthly giveaways. It's really a good deal. As always, everybody, keep the supple side down.